Hello adventurers, my name is Diogo Guerra and this is OFFroad-OFFcourse. And this is a T7 review.
Today I am recording here from BlueMotor, a Yamaha dealer in Santarém. They were kind enough to invite me to test ride one of their T7s and make a video sharing my thoughts about it. Yesterday I went all off-road-off-course on one of the bikes and I drew a few conclusions. But before I go and show you the footage, I want to explain why I believe the T7 deserves everyone's attention. You see, for the past 20 years, us, the adventurers, have been losing the war for the adventure motorcycle soul. Year after year, the manufacturers have been raising the standards of comfort and technology so much that the modern notion of what the adventure motorcycle should be ended all the way up there, completely intertwined with the concept of touring. But it was in this darkest of hours that Yamaha stepped up with a T7, a gloriously minimalist motorcycle, set to remind us all that in the true spirit of adventure, less is more. Less James Bondish high-tech sophistication, more Indiana Jonesish down-to-earth practicality and horseplay. Alright, and now that the introductions are done, let me take you outside and show you how the T7 actually delivered in this message that less is more. Let's begin with the power. Instead of tempting us with a ludicrous amount of horsepower we couldn't possibly survive without a bunch of demeaning electronic assists, Yamaha kept it real and gave us a solid 75 horsepower engine that anyone can enjoy, being it with a handful of throttle or barely touching it. The only electronic shenanigan they included, the ABS. Mainly because they didn't have a choice, but also because one day it might save your life on the road. But off-road, where all the fun is, they made it really easy to turn off by pressing this button here on the display. It's simple and elegant, in a racy kind of way. And make no mistake, the ABS should be off when you ride off-road. Although when you are learning it seems that the ABS is like an efficient way of stopping the bike, when you learn the proper techniques you can beat the ABS because you can be more efficient off-road. On the road it's a different story. Instead of wasting resources on a futuristic display, Yamaha figured they couldn't possibly compete with our fancy pants smartphones, so they just gave us a place to clamp them and a port to charge them. The display they left us with is very simple and rugged, and it only shows the information the true adventurer needs. Distance, fuel, speed, the time, and to be honest, I'm surprised they bothered with showing us the revs at all. My guess is that they were afraid that because the engine is so smooth we would know when to shift gears. Said smooth engine is the CP2, a parallel twin engine that has been in use for years on the MT-07. For those of you who don't speak mechanics, a parallel twin engine means that this engine has two cylinders working parallel to each other. Twin-cylinder bikes are usually very smooth on the road and the T7 is no exception. No vibrations, no noises, no noticeable dips on the power curve, a small but rather efficient front screen, a very comfortable sitting position. All these things make this bike a real pleasure to cruise with. Yamaha may not have used a lot of electronic technology on the T7, but they sure pulled all the mechanic tricks they had up their sleeve. One of them straight out of the Super Tenere from 1991, which is the 270-degree crank. This engine architecture allows this parallel twin to have the low rev grunt and traction of a V-twin. And this makes this bike very easy to ride at any speed, in any place, in any gear. But not everything were old tricks. Actually, one is pretty new and nobody saw it coming. The front sprocket placement. As you may have noticed, the sprocket is up here and not down here like you would see on a normal motorcycle. And this creates a very different angle between the sprocket and the rear wheel. Said angle creates an anti-squat effect. This means that when you accelerate, the swing arm will be pushed down instead of brought up. and this gives you more traction on the rear wheel because you are planting the rear down onto the ground, and because the wheel is going down, the rear of the bike will go up, and so the front of the bike will go down as well. And this creates also more traction on the front wheel, which is amazing during turns. According to a YouTuber I respect a lot, Ryan from Fortnite, he also claims that this anti-squat effect allowed Yamaha to put a bit more weight on the rear of the bike than they did on the front, and this allows the bike to be more, let's say, to handle better when on technical terrain, because the handlebar feels lighter. I don't know about that because I have the sensitivity of a mule, so I don't know if I really felt that light handlebar, but the bike really felt exceedingly well when dealing with technical terrain at low speed. So there could be that, yeah. A lot of traction as well, very smooth engine and a very balanced overall thing. It's very balanced, the engine deals really well with low revs, the clutch is very easy to manage, the suspensions, because they are soft, they kind of let the bike roll up and down the obstacles without bringing you out of balance. It's really amazing. The technical optimizations didn't stop here, since a smaller bike needs a smaller engine with a smaller radiator and fuel tank. So the bike is really narrow and it allows you plenty of room to move around when you are off-road. The bike's dimensions and ergonomics are really accommodating, and I think even for shorter riders, since the seat height is only about 88 centimeters, something like that, and the narrow profile allows you to reach the ground easily even with both feet, which is a very visually striking technique you should definitely try, especially if you want to die a virgin. The weight is 205 kilos ready to roll, making it the lightest twin-cylinder adventure motorcycle on the market. But let's double down on that idea that less is more. If you are a beginner on off-road, I truly believe that an adventure bike of any kind will be too heavy for you. You should definitely learn with a smaller bike, or at least get some lessons before you step up to a bike like the T7. But moving on, let's talk about the suspensions. The front fork is two-way adjustable, meaning that you can adjust the compression and the rebound. As for the shock in the rear, it's three-way adjustable, so you have compression, rebound and preload. Since Yamaha was kind enough to give us a bike with these three adjustments, the least we could do is to learn how to adjust them, even if it's only on a basic level. To help you with that, my next video will be a tutorial about suspensions in general and how to adjust them on the T7. Anyway, the front wheel is a 21-inch rim, the rear is an 18-inch rim, which are very good but very standard dimensions nowadays. But nevertheless, it sure feels good to tick this one out of the checklist.
Okay. But to be honest, I don't have a memory of feeling so uncomfortable with the front tire like I did with this Pirelli, especially on the mud. Like on the normal dirt, dry dirt, it's okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay, I guess. But on the mud, it has been terrible. Nothing short than terrible.
Top speed is 190, or so I've heard, legally, and the fuel tank carries 16 liters. The bike uses about 5 liters to ride for 100 kilometers, this is how we measure fuel in Europe, so this means you have about 350 kilometers of range, which is very respectable for the road and more than enough for the off-road, I know. At least I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to be carrying any more weight in fuel. Alright, now it's time to go back to BlueMotor and talk about the things that are not so good about the T7 and the things that people have been criticizing. I also have my own opinions to share, so see you there. As you might expect, I believe that most of the complaints about the T7 come from the high expectations created by the galore of the other motorcycles preceding it. Instead, I think one should look at the T7 for what it really is: a simple, affordable, high-performance adventure platform. Nevertheless, because it's such a popular motorcycle, for each problem found, already 3 solutions and 3 aftermarket parts were already presented. And regarding that, I'm very impressed here with the BlueMotor team, because they are very approachable, trying to find solutions and upgrades in and out of the Yamaha's catalog in order to provide the best T7 experience they possibly can to their customers. So what exactly are these problems and limitations I'm talking about? Here's a quick list. Instead of a ride-by-wire throttle and an hydraulic clutch, Yamaha decided to save you a few bucks by using old-school cable-operated controls. Some people feel bothered because of this, and I think that's crazy. The clutch is incredibly light and the throttle works just fine. I also heard some people complain about these vibrations on the display. Guys, please, we literally ride 200 kilo horses made of steel in the middle of the dirt and the mud and the suck, and yet you guys want to live with these insufferable Louis XIV standards? Pfft, come on! Okay, but now some valid critiques. If you want highway comfort, or if you ride often with a passenger, then the original seat is not ideal. It is designed for off-road grip and to allow you room to move, so it's not the most comfortable on the highway, that's true. Then I recommend that you get the rally version from Yamaha, or you can just upholster your seat according to your very specific butt needs. Both the springs on the front and on the back are a bit soft, so heavier riders that ride very aggressively off-road, or people that carry luggage often or with a passenger often, they will feel that they would need stiffer springs. But for the majority of us who ride alone with moderate rhythm off-road, I don't think the suspensions will get in the way anytime soon. There's a lot of fun to be had and a lot you can learn before you need to change the springs. So don't let this get too much into your head. The rear brake really does not have a strong bite as much as you would assume, but it's very progressive, so you can use it off-road without locking the rear wheel constantly, which is good. If you want to improve its performance, I guess you can change the rubber tube for a steel mesh one, use better brake pads, or maybe bleed the system a little bit better. And last but not least, the exhaust placement. I don't like it that it's so far out that it will be the first thing hitting the ground if I crash. Not only because I would damage the exhaust itself, but I suppose that if you are unlucky in the way it falls, it looks like it's possible that the pressure here could somehow bend the subframe of the bike. Nevertheless, I haven't heard anyone having any real issues with this, maybe it's just paranoia, we will see. In conclusion, is the T7 the perfect bike? Probably not, but I don't think Yamaha is trying to pretend it is. It is, however, the perfect blend between comfort, performance and simplicity. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like, to subscribe, to hit the thingy and to share. Next video I will talk about suspensions. See you there!